Here are 101 facts about the Su-57 Felon. NATO literally named it Felon, which is either the sickest call sign ever or a straight-up roast. Number 1. The Su-57 program exists because Russia's first attempt at a stealth fighter failed spectacularly. In the 1990s, Mikoyan's futuristic Project 1.44 never made it past a prototype, so Sukhoi got the nod in 1999 to build what would become the Su-57. Sometimes it pays to be Plan B. Sukhoi swooped in after Mikoyan's flop and stole the show. Number 2. On January 29, 2010, Sukhoi's chief test pilot Sergei Bogdan took the prototype Su-57, then called PAK-FA, on its maiden flight. He kept the futuristic jet in the air for 47 minutes, proving that Russia's stealth bird could actually fly. Not bad for a first day. 15 years later, the Felon finally entered service in 2020. Talk about a long build-up. Number 3. For years, it was just called PAK-FA or T-50. The official name, Su-57, only came in 2017 when the head of the Russian Air Force announced it like a proud father. The decision has been made, and the plane has got its name like a child after birth. Su-57 is how we now call it. Better late than never. Number 4. NATO's code name for the Su-57 is Felon. Not exactly flattering, but certainly badass. It was assigned in late 2019, continuing the tradition of Soviet or Russian fighters getting F names like Fulcrum, Flanker, Foxbat, and others. Russian pilots, however, never use it. They still just say PAK-FA or Su-57 in conversation and probably roll their eyes at Felon. Can you blame them? Who wants to be called a criminal in the skies? Number 5. The Su-57 started under the codename PAK-FA, which in Russian stands for Prospective Air Complex of Frontline Aviation. In plain English, that means Future Frontline Fighter Program. Not the catchiest name, but it got the job done until Su-57 came along. And you thought F-22 Raptor was a mouthful? Try saying Perspektivny Aviacyjny Complex Frontovoy Aviacji 5 times fast. Number 6. This is the first stealth aircraft Russia has ever put into service. The Soviets toyed with stealth concepts. They had that wild forward, swept Su-47 Berkut for experiments, but nothing operational until the Su-57 finally arrived. It only took them until the 21st century to join the stealth club. Number 7. The Su-57's development was no rocket ride. Repeated issues and accidents pushed the first delivery from 2015 all the way to 2020. In fact, the very first production Felon crashed during testing in December 2019, just days before it was due to be handed over. The jet literally tried to no-show its own debut. The pilot ejected safely, at least. Number 8. Despite the hiccups, Russia declared the Su-57 operational on December 25, 2020 by delivering one lone jet to an evaluation regiment. Merry Christmas, here's your stealth fighter, fresh off the runway. Of course, that initial bird went to Lipetsk Air Base for military evaluation, basically a test pilot's toy, not a combat unit. It wasn't exactly a roaring deployment of an entire squadron. Number 9. How many Felons are out there? As of the end of 2024, roughly 28 production Su-57s were delivered in total, far short of the dozens Russia originally hoped to have by then. They're still aiming for 76 jets on order by around 2028, but at this rate, it's like watching paint dry in a Siberian winter. The Su-57 might be stealthy, but its production line sure isn't fast. Number 10. President Putin personally ordered those 76 Su-57s to be built by 2028, putting pressure on Sukhoi to ramp up production. Originally, the Air Force talked about needing around 150 to 200 of these, but budget reality hit hard. For now, 76 is the magic number. Will they hit it? We'll see, I guess. Number 11. The Su-57 was once supposed to be a joint Russian-Indian super project. In 2007, India signed on to co-develop a variant called the FGFA, fifth-generation fighter aircraft, and wanted 144 of them. Fast forward to 2018, India bailed out, saying the Felon wasn't meeting stealth and tech expectations. After spending years and millions, India basically said thanks, but no thanks, leaving Russia to go it alone and taking their checkbook with them. Number 12. India's wish list for the FGFA version included 43 major improvements over the standard Su-57, better stealth, a more powerful engine, upgraded avionics, you name it. Russia, however, wasn't keen on reinventing the wheel for its partner. Among India's gripes, the Su-57 stealth was too limited for their taste. In the end, India walked, and none of those 43 wish list upgrades materialized. Moral: never tell an Indian air chief you're giving him a Ferrari when he thinks it's a modded Lada. Number 13. Russia is eager to export the Su-57. There's even an export model dubbed Su-57E. In 2024, they claim to have signed the first foreign contract, but won't say with whom. This mystery buyer business has everyone guessing. Maybe Algeria? Vietnam? The UAE? It's the stealth jet with a secret pen pal. Until a name leaks, the first Felon export customer is as shadowy as the jet itself. Number 14. Sukhoi's sales pitch. The Su-57 will be cheaper than an American F-35 or F-22. They tout a much lower unit cost. Some estimates put it around $35 to $40 million per jet, less than half the price of an F-35A. Of course, that's if you believe the official numbers. Either way, Russia loves to advertise the Felon as a 5th gen on a budget. The old joke goes, it's stealthy and affordable. Pick 2. Russia claims to have done both. Number 15. The Su-57's combat debut was more of a cameo. In February 2018, Russia suddenly sent 2 Su-57s to Syria for just a few days, largely as a PR exercise. They reportedly even fired a cruise missile during this trial by fire. Then they packed up and flew home almost as fast as they arrived. The deployment was so short, just 2 days, around 10 sorties, that if you blinked, you missed it. Critics called it a stunt, and honestly, it was Russia's way of saying, see, it works, without risking the goods for too long. Number 16. Many experts indeed called the Syria trip a stunt. The Felons flew only about 10 missions in total and stayed 48 hours, blink, and they were gone. Sending prototypes to a warzone rife with insurgent drones raised eyebrows. It was overly risky for such limited value, said analysts. In plain terms, Russia basically parked 2 Su-57s in Syria, launched a few weapons to get some combat data, and then got them the heck out before anything could go wrong. PR accomplished. Do svidaniya. Number 17. In the Ukraine war, the Su-57 has been used, but very cautiously. Reports in 2022 to 2023 say Felons have launched long-range missiles at Ukraine while staying safely in Russian airspace. In other words, they're sniping from afar, not mixing it up over Kyiv. British intelligence noted that Russia was very reluctant to put its precious Su-57s at risk, so they've been limited to standoff strikes. It's like having a heavyweight boxer who only throws punches from behind a wall. Number 18. Ukraine managed to literally scratch an Su-57. On June 8, 2024, Ukrainian drone strike on a Russian airfield, Akhtubinsk, reportedly damaged 1 Su-57 on the ground. This was the first time Russia's prize stealth fighter took a hit in the conflict, a bit embarrassing for Moscow. The Felon wasn't shot down or anything dramatic, but a Ukrainian UAV gave it a nasty scrape. Even stealth jets aren't safe from a clever drone with a vendetta. Number 19. The Su-57 made a Hollywood debut, sort of. In Top Gun Maverick, 2022, the unnamed enemy, 5th-generation fighters that Tom Cruise's heroes tangle with are clearly Su-57 lookalikes. NATO calls them Felons, but Maverick calls them Splash 1. He downed 2 with an antique F-14 Tomcat in the film. It's not often you see a 1980s jet embarrass a supposed 5th gen on screen, but hey, that's movie magic for you. For the record, no Su-57s were harmed in the making of that movie. It was all CGI, much to Russia's relief. Number 20. Gamers will recognize the Su-57 from Ace Combat and other flight sims. The Felon made its video game debut in Ace Combat Assault Horizon as the PAC-FA, and later appears in Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown under its real name. It's often the aircraft of choice for boss enemies and ace pilots in games, basically the final boss plane. When a modern flight game wants to throw a cutting-edge villain at you, Russia's Su-57 is a top pick. Nothing says level completed like blasting a Felon out of virtual skies. Number 21. The Su-57 can pull off some insane aerobatics. It has 2 huge engines with thrust vectoring nozzles that are canted outward, letting it use engine thrust to pitch, yaw, and even roll the plane. That means the Felon can do the famous Pugachev's Cobra maneuver and other post-stall tricks without breaking a sweat. At airshows, you'll see it somersault and flip like a fighter half its size. It's as if they took an Su-35's acrobatics and made them stealthy, a flying contradiction that can pirouette invisibly. Number 22. Ironically, the 5th-gen Su-57 has been flying with old generation engines for most of its life. The initial jets use modified AL-41F1 afterburning turbofans, basically borrowed from the Su-35S Flanker E. The real super engine, dubbed Izdalai 30, wasn't ready until late 2022 for testing. Once that new power plant comes standard, the Felon will finally have the full thrust and efficiency it was promised. In other words, current Su-57s are kind of like having a brand new sports car with last year's engine under the hood, fast, but the best is yet to come. Number 23. Even with the interim engines, The Su-57 can supercruise, fly supersonic without afterburner, at about Mach 1.3. The new Deceleration engines are expected to push that further. Rumors say maybe Mach 1.5 plus, supercruise, while also reducing its heat and radar signature, with features like serrated nozzles and composite materials inside. In short, more speed, less glow on enemy sensors, a win-win. Once those engines arrive, the Felon will truly be able to flex its muscles in full 5th-gen style. Number 24. The Felon isn't the absolute fastest jet in the sky. Top speed is about Mach 2.0, around 2,135 km per hour at altitude, similar to an F-22, but it has serious legs. It can fly over 1,500 km supersonic, more than twice the range of an Su-27 when both use afterburners, thanks to efficient aerodynamics and a big internal fuel load. In fact, with full tanks it carries over 10,000 kilograms of fuel, and if that's not enough, it even has a retractable refueling probe to sip gas mid-air for extended ferry missions. Even stealth fighters need a long-range coffee boost sometimes. Number 25. Stealth isn't just about shape. The Su-57 uses a lot of composite materials to stay light and sneaky. About 22 to 26% of its structural weight is composites, covering roughly 70% of the outer surface. That's a ton of carbon fiber and resin in the airframe. These materials help absorb radar waves and reduce weight, a double benefit. Essentially, the Felon is part metal, part high-tech plastic. It's practically a flying jigsaw puzzle of alloys and carbon fiber. One reason it costs a pretty ruble to make, but it pays off in stealth and agility. Number 26. All of the Felon's firepower can be tucked away inside. It has 2 big internal weapon bays in the belly and 2 smaller side bays near the wing roots, holding up to 6 missiles when in stealth mode. Typically 4 long-range plus 2 short-range. Stashing the weapons internally means no draggy bombs or pylons hanging outside and reflecting radar waves, a huge boost to stealth and performance. When the Su-57 is in full ninja mode, you won't see its fangs until it's ready to strike. Number 27. If stealth isn't a concern, the Su-57 can lug an arsenal. It boasts 12 hardpoints in total, 6 inside and 6 external, with a maximum warload of about 7,500 kilograms of ordnance. That's in the same class as a Heavy Strike Eagle or Sukhoi's own Su-34 bomber. It can carry a truckload of munitions. From a bunch of bombs to a stack of missiles, you name it. There's even talk of it being wired to carry nuclear strike weapons someday. Of course, once you hang stuff under the wings, it's no longer very stealthy, but it sure can hit like a hammer. Number 28. Unlike some Western stealth jets that sacrificed a bit of agility for ultra stealth, the Su-57 was designed to dogfight like a champ. It has a highly unstable aerodynamic design on purpose and a digital fly-by-wire flight control system that make it departure resistant. In other words, it's hard to make it spin out of control. In plain terms, the Felon can dance at crazy angles of attack without falling out of the sky. It will happily pull 9G turns and execute high-alpha maneuvers that would send lesser jets into a tailspin. Stealth or not, if you get into a close-in scrap with this thing, it's got the moves to make you sweat. Number 29. The Su-57 has levcons, little movable forewing flaps on the leading-edge extensions of the wings. These leading-edge vortex controllers pop up and down to manage airflow vortices during extreme maneuvers. They can act like extra control surfaces to keep the jet stable at high angles of attack and even help with quick stall recovery if needed. Think of them as tiny canard-like fins that give the Felon even more control authority during Cobra maneuvers and other post-stall antics. It's an unusual feature. You can spot them moving during Su-57 demo flights, but they prove Sukhoi was pulling out all the stops for maneuverability. Number 30. For stealth, the Su-57 follows many of the same tricks as the F-22, carefully aligned edges, serrated skin panels, and canted tail fins to minimize radar returns. From head-on, it's pretty sneaky looking. The jet was clearly optimized for frontal stealth. However, it does have some notable compromises. Those engine nozzles are round and not deeply shrouded, and there's an infrared search sensor ball on the nose, both of which can reflect radar or heat. Critics point out these could make the Su-57 show up larger on radar or IR scopes from certain angles. In other words, the Felon is very stealthy in some aspects, but it's not a 100% invisible ghost, like an F-35 trying to be. Sukhoi balanced stealth with other factors, like cost and agility, leading to a few stealth wrinkles on an otherwise low observable design. Number 31. The Su-57 has an infrared search and track system built in, essentially a big infrared sensor eye on the forward fuselage. The 101KSV IRST can detect enemy aircraft by their heat signatures at long range, even stealthy ones that radar might miss. It is a trade-off, That infrared sensor is literally a bump on the nose, like a little turret, which slightly hurts aerodynamic and radar stealth, but the Russians figured having an infrared eye was worth it. This lets a Felon potentially spot a sneaky F-35 by its engine heat, or see through things like ground clutter and jamming. Number 32. This fighter is basically a flying sensor fusion lab. It has at least 5 radars on board. One big X-band AESA radar in the nose, plus 2 smaller X-band AESA arrays in the cheeks of the forward fuselage for side coverage, and even L-band radar arrays in the wing leading edges. Those L-band antennas can help detect stealthy targets at longer wavelengths. On top of that, it has the 101KS Atoll electro-optical suite, infrared sensors all around for missile warning, targeting, and more. In short, the Felon is bristling with sensors covering all angles, and crucially, all that data is fused together by a central computer so the pilot sees one coherent picture. Number 33. The Su-57's designers put a big emphasis on sensor, integration, and automation. The SH-121 integrated avionics suite ties together the radar arrays, infrared sensors, electronic warfare, and more, giving the pilot a unified view. Sukhoi claims the jet can even act as a sort of command node with a high level of onboard AI. They have hinted the Su-57 could one day control wingman drones or handle some tasks autonomously. It is all part of Russia's effort to make this jet smart. Whether reality meets the marketing is unclear, but they definitely loaded the Felon with the brains to match its brawn. Number 34. The Felon carries an onboard electronic warfare suite called Himalayas. If that conjures images of a giant Yeti zapping enemy radars, you are not far off. The L-402 Himalayas ECM system is built into the aircraft to jam and deceive enemy radar and missiles. Its antennas are reportedly spread all over the airframe, meaning the Su-57 can emit powerful signals in many directions to fry an opponent's radar picture. In essence, it can carry out its own electronic countermeasures rather than relying on a dedicated jamming plane. Number 35. The pilot of a Su-57 gets a pretty high-tech office. The cockpit is a glass cockpit, no old analog dials, with 2 huge 15-inch LCD touchscreen displays side by side. Similar to the Su-35 setup, there is also a wide-angle HUD and all the standard HOTAS controls, hands on throttle and stick. But the real gem is the helmet. The ZSH-10B pilot helmet has a built-in digital display, even pupil tracking sensors. The pilot can lock onto a target just by looking at it, cueing missiles via the helmet-mounted display. Number 36. This jet is built for high G performance. The life support system enables the pilot to endure 9G maneuvers for up to 30 seconds at a time. That is brutal. 9G means the pilot feels 9 times his weight, which can make vision tunnel or black out if sustained. But the Su-57's suit and oxygen system are designed to help the pilot handle it. The Felon is intended to fight and fly in the high-performance regime, and its pilots have to be in top shape to exploit that. If you ever ride a roller coaster and pull 4 to 5G for a second, imagine double that for half a minute. That is what a Su-57 pilot may experience in a hard dogfight or missile-evading turn, not for the faint of heart or weak of stomach. Number 37. The Su-57's canopy is coated with special metallic layers to reduce radar returns. It actually reflects radar waves and hides the cockpit's radar signature, which otherwise could bounce off the pilot's helmet or displays. In fact, a new innovative glass coating introduced in 2017 doubled the radar wave absorption of the canopy and cut the cockpit's radar visibility by 30%. It is made of layers of metal oxide only 70 to 90 nanometers thick. Bonus, this coating also blocks UV and thermal radiation, so it keeps the pilot from getting sunburned or cooked at high altitudes. The Su-57 uses a 2-piece canopy, opening forward, and that coating makes it shimmer, stealth and pilot comfort in one place. Number 38. The Felon is designed to be a multi-role beast. It can carry everything from advanced air-to-air missiles, like the radar-guided and the heat-seeking ones, to anti-ship missiles and even anti-radiation missiles internally. In Syria, it reportedly dropped a precision bomb or 2, proving it can do ground attack. Russian sources even claim the Su-57 will be nuclear capable, able to carry a miniaturized version of the Kinzhal hypersonic missile in the future. In theory, one Felon could shoot down an enemy fighter, bomb a ground target, and sink a ship all on the same sortie with the right loadout. It is the definition of multifunctional, a true successor to both the Su-27 and the MiG-29 as they intended. Number 39. One specialty loadout for the Su-57 is long-range air combat. It can pack up to 4 gigantic long-range missiles in its bays for anti-AWACS or standoff roles. Specifically, the Felon can carry the Izdeliai 810 missiles, further developments of the R-37M Aero, with 2 in each main bay. These are huge 400+ kilogram missiles that can reach targets over 200 kilometers away. If those do not fit internally, the Su-57 could lug a couple on external pylons, though that kills stealth. Essentially, the Felon can play sniper, launching Mach 6 AWACS killers from well beyond visual range. It is a capability few fighters have. Number 40. Unlike the F-35B Marine variant, which carries no internal gun, the Su-57 definitely did not skip the gun. It has a 30mm Gryazev Shapunov GSH-31 autocannon mounted internally, near the right wing root leading edge extension. It holds 150 rounds of ammo, not much, but enough to ruin someone's day in a close fight, or to strafe a ground target. A 30mm is a big gun for a fighter. Western jets usually have 20mm or 25mm calibers, meaning each hit packs a punch. The cannon's muzzle is concealed behind a flush panel until it is needed to keep stealth up. Number 41. The Su-57 had an oops moment in public early on. During the 2011 MAX Air Show in Moscow, one prototype suffered a compressor stall on takeoff and had to abort the flight demo. Basically, the engine coughed, and the jet said nope in front of hundreds of spectators. Nothing was damaged, aside from Sukhoi's pride. The pilot taxied off safely, but it was an embarrassing hiccup for a high-profile debut. Russian air shows are famous for flashy performances, so a flame out on takeoff was not the showstopper they wanted. Number 42. June 10, 2014. Mark that as a bad day in Felon land. On that day, the fifth flying prototype, T-55, was severely damaged by an engine fire after landing. The pilot escaped unharmed, but the aircraft was basically a charred wreck. Sukhoi subsequently cannibalized its salvageable parts to build a replacement dubbed T-55R. They literally took the burnt jet's organs and transplanted them into a new airframe. Officially, they even counted it as the same aircraft in records to avoid admitting a total loss. Talk about a phoenix rising from the ashes. Number 43. The very first production Su-57 was supposed to be handed over by the end of 2019. Instead, it spiraled into the ground during a factory test flight in December 2019. A control system malfunction caused the jet to enter a rapid spin from 8,000 meters. The pilot tried everything, but eventually had to punch out. The brand new Su-57, Bort number 01 Blue, smashed into the taiga, marking the program's first production loss before it even got delivered. To their credit, Sukhoi fixed the control issue and deliveries resumed in 2020, but you can bet there were some facepalms at the Kremlin right before that crash-filled New Year. Number 44. When the Su-57 made its big debut at China's Zhuhai Air Show in 2024, it was not its stealth or agility that observers noticed. It was the shoddy fit and finish. Close-up photos showed misaligned panels, noticeable gaps, and even a mix of different screws and bolt heads sticking out on the airframe. Chinese social media had a field day mocking the poor build quality of the Russian jet. One image highlighted the rear section. It had Phillips head, flathead, and hexagonal bolt heads all on the same plane. A big no-no in modern stealth manufacturing. Number 45. The Chinese were not shy about voicing their critique. Aviation enthusiasts in China drew unfavorable comparisons between the Su-57 and China's own J-20 Mighty Dragon, which Beijing touts as more advanced and better crafted. Many comments said that the Su-57 on display, despite being a high-end prototype, does not meet the expectations for a state-of-the-art stealth fighter. In other words, they were saying the Felon looked a bit 1990s next to the slick Chinese jet. It is not often you see the tables turned like that. In the early 2000s, people mocked Chinese fighters as clones, and now, in 2024, the Chinese are ridiculing a Russian fighter's build quality. The prideful Sukhoi Bureau cannot have been happy to hear that feedback. Number 46. Russia has tried pitching the Su-57 to various countries, especially those miffed with the West. They courted Turkey when it got kicked out of the F-35 program, hinting Ankara could buy Su-57s instead. In 2019, Putin famously walked Turkish President Erdogan around a Su-57 at MAX Air Show, even letting him peek in the cockpit. This high-profile tour came right after the United States banned Turkey from F-35s for buying Russian S-400 missiles. It was a PR spectacle. 2 Su-57s even performed a demo for him, and 4 were on display in formation flight. But Turkey ended up working on their own jet. Number 47. The Su-57 already has a little sibling in the works, the Sukhoi LTS Checkmate. Revealed in 2021, this is a smaller, single-engine stealth fighter concept that borrows a lot of tech from the Su-57. The Checkmate is aimed at export customers who cannot afford a heavy twin-engine jet. Number 48. Sukhoi has floated the idea of a naval Su-57. Under program name Megapolis, they are developing the improved Su-57M variant with better engines, and have mentioned work on a variant that can operate from aircraft carriers. Russia's current carrier, Admiral Kuznetsov, is notoriously troubled and currently undergoing endless repairs, but future plans or exports could warrant a carrier-capable Felon. This would likely mean adding a tailhook, beefing up the landing gear, and maybe folding wings. It is all theoretical right now. Russia does not have a shiny new supercarrier to base them on, but Sukhoi clearly wants the Su-57 to be a versatile template. Number 49. The Su-57 is being paired with a stealthy, unmanned combat drone called the S-70 Okhotnik, meaning hunter. In 2019, an Okhotnik drone flew in formation with a Su-57 during a test, and Sukhoi has used one of the Su-57 prototypes to test manned-unmanned teaming tech. The concept is that the Felon could act as a quarterback controlling one or several hunter drones, sending them ahead into dangerous zones, or using them to extend sensor reach and weapons range. It is Russia's answer to the loyal wingman programs elsewhere. The Okhotnik is a large flying wing UAV with stealth features and a hefty payload. If or when it enters service, a Su-57 pilot might command his own mini squadron of robots in the sky. Number 50. At roughly $40 million a pop, give or take, by unofficial estimates, the Su-57 is significantly cheaper than its Western fifth-generation counterparts. An F-35A is around $80 million, and an F-22 was well over $120 million. Russia achieved this lower cost partly by using off-the-shelf components, like initially the Su-35's engines, and simpler production methods. However, keep in mind, Russia's reported costs often exclude R&D and are calculated differently. Still, if a Felon truly sells for half the price of an F-35, that is a big draw for countries with smaller budgets. Number 51. In a bid to save face, Russia pressed Su-57 prototypes into service. After the first serial jet crashed in late 2019, the Kremlin took the unusual step of officially deploying about a dozen pre-production and test airframes as an initial squadron. These aircraft were not all built to final production standard, but they got operational unit markings, and Russia said, "Look, we have a fifth-generation unit now. It was classic fake it till you make it." This desperate move showed Moscow's urgency to join the big boys club alongside the United States and China. Number 52. To modernize manufacturing and speed things up, Sukhoi turned to some science fiction-esque methods. They started using augmented reality headsets on the assembly line. Technicians scan QR codes on parts and see interactive holographic instructions on how to fit components, like an IKEA manual floating in front of their eyes. It is pretty neat. The idea is to reduce errors at training time. Major parts of the Su-57 reportedly have QR codes that workers scan. Then an AR system shows where and how that part goes. It is the 21st century version of some assembly required. Despite this high-tech approach, it has not completely solved production delays. Number 53. Western sanctions have hit the Su-57 program hard. Many advanced components, especially microelectronics, that Russia used to import became restricted after 2014 and again after 2022. According to reports, the Russians had to scramble to replace certain avionics and chips with domestic or alternative sources, which has slowed production and affected capabilities. The Su-57 was supposed to have cutting-edge sensors and computers, some originally planned with foreign tech collaboration. When that door closed, it was back to the drawing board or relying on less advanced local tech. This is one reason the Su-57 has not produced in large numbers. You cannot build a fifth-generation fighter easily when you are locked out of the global electronics market. Number 54. The factory in Komsomolsk-on-Amur, which is building the Su-57, had to install a giant refrigerator just to paint them. Seriously, in 2022, UAC commissioned a modern climate-controlled painting chamber because the region's hot, humid summers were messing with the application of stealth coatings. Stealth paint is finicky. You need stable temperature and humidity to apply it correctly. So they built a refrigeration center the size of a building to keep the paint shop cool and dry year-round. Number 55. Early Su-57 prototypes were revised heavily as testing progressed. After the first 5 test airframes, Sukhoi introduced design tweaks in the second-stage prototypes. The 6th jet onward had an elongated tail sting, slightly larger wingspan, and increased use of composites. They even reinforced the airframe to meet full life cycle requirements, meaning they beefed it up to last a long service life. One of the original prototypes was rebuilt to the new standard after that 2014 fire, being renumbered as T-50-5R with the updated design. So not all Su-57s are exactly alike. Number 56. The Russian military does not officially nickname their jets, but you can bet they do not love having their pride and joy labeled a criminal. In Russian, they just call it Su-57 or sometimes by the project name T-50. NATO chooses these words for ease of identification, not insults. All fighter aircraft get an F name, and the first Russian stealth fighter ended up being called Felon. Meanwhile, the United States has Raptor and Lightning. It is almost like NATO was throwing shade, but hey, at least it is not called Flatline or something worse. There were rumors NATO might call it Fraser or Firefox, but Felon it is. Number 57. As of 2025, the Su-57 has yet to score an air-to-air kill. It has been used to launch weapons in anger, in Syria and Ukraine, but it has not mixed it up in a dogfight or shot down any enemy jets that we know of. In contrast, Russia's older fighters like the Su-35 and even Soviet-era Su-27s have racked up some claims in recent conflicts. The Felon is still waiting for its first notch on the belt. Of course, one hopes we never see two fifth-generation fighters go head-to-head for real. But if it happens, that will be a historic moment. Number 58. Early Su-57 prototypes sported a flashy digital camouflage paint job, light blue pixelated camo that made them look like 16-bit fighter jets. It was certainly eye-catching at air shows and in photos. However, camo patterns have zero effect on radar stealth. They are mainly for visual concealment or national colors. By the time production rolled around, the Felon adopted a more traditional gray camo similar to Su-35s, likely with some radar-absorbent paint mixed in. Those pixel camo jets were mostly PR flair. The interesting thing is that if you can see the camo, the jet's stealth clearly is not working as intended. Number 59. The Su-57's development spanned a tumultuous era in Russia. It was conceived in the late Yeltsin years, first flown under President Medvedev in 2010 and fielded under Putin in 2020. It basically took the tenure of 3 different Russian presidents to go from drawing board to operational. In that time, Russia went through economic crises, defense budget swings, and sanctions, all of which impacted the program. There were moments the government nearly scaled back or canceled it. In 2015, facing financial strain, a deputy defense minister even said they might just buy a handful of Su-57s and focus on upgrading Su-35s. Fortunately for Sukhoi, they reversed that stance and went ahead with a bigger order later. Number 60. Chief Test Pilot Sergei Bogdan, the first man to fly the Su-57, swears it can outfight any rival. In 2024, he said that the Su-57 was superior to any of the existing fighters in the world and that Russian aircraft always have a competitive edge. Bold claims, but Bogdan has been with the program since day one, and he is a hero of Russia for his exploits. He has pushed the Felon to its limits in testing, cobras, tail slides, you name it. Of course, test pilots are part salesmen too, and you will rarely hear one say our jet is second best. Still, hearing him talk smack about the F-22 and F-35 without naming them is peak aviation bravado. Number 61. Russia is fixing that round nozzle problem. The Su-57's engines originally had round exhaust nozzles, which are terrible for stealth. They light up on radar like a disco ball. To fix this, Russia started testing flat, jagged-edge nozzles similar to the F-22s as part of their second-stage engine program. In late 2024, an Su-57 flew with one of these new flat nozzles installed, giving us the first real look at the upgrade. The serrated edges scatter radar and reduce infrared signature from the rear. Problem is, the Su-57 was not designed for flat nozzles from the start, so Sukhoi had to retrofit the design without triggering a complete redesign nightmare. If it works, future Felons will have a much stealthier rear end, fixing one of the jet's biggest vulnerabilities. Number 62. The Su-57 is part of an exclusive club. Only 4 operational 5th-generation fighters exist in the world: the F-22 Raptor, the F-35 Lightning II, China's J-20 Mighty Dragon, and the Su-57 Felon. South Korea's KF-21 and Turkey's TFX are still in development. Being late to the party gave Sukhoi one advantage. They could study the F-22 and F-35 designs and learn from their strengths and weaknesses. Sukhoi openly admitted they analyzed the F-22's features and aimed to outdo them in certain areas. Whether they succeeded is debatable, but the Felon's very existence puts Russia in an elite tier of aviation powers. Number 63. The Su-57's N036 Byelka radar is a beast. Russian for squirrel, it is reported to detect air targets at up to 400 kilometers and track 60 targets simultaneously while engaging 16 at once. That is comparable to, or better than, the F-22's AN/APG-77 radar. Of course, these ranges apply to large, non-stealthy targets like bombers, but it means the Felon can monitor a massive chunk of sky. As an AESA radar, it is reliable and agile, representing a major leap for Russian radar technology. Plus, the Su-57 has additional cheek radars, so it can detect threats off angle without turning much. Number 64. The Su-57 can carry anti-ship missiles internally, which is rare for a stealth fighter. Its weapons bay is large enough to fit Kh-35U anti-ship cruise missiles. That means a Felon could sneak close to an enemy fleet and launch sea-skimming missiles without lighting up on naval radars. The F-35 can carry anti-ship missiles too, but the Su-57's 4.4-meter weapons bay is particularly generous. It can also haul hefty anti-radar missiles internally to knock out SAM sites. The Felon is not just an air dominance fighter, it is a stealth ship killer and SAM hunter with a big toolbox. Number 65. Sukhoi used the F-22 as a baseline and played Monday morning quarterback. They felt the Raptor had limitations, no 3D thrust vectoring, limited weapon space, and a narrow focus on air dominance rather than multi-role missions. So for the Su-57, they addressed those issues. The Felon has 3D thrust vectoring for roll and yaw control, widely spaced engines creating a broad fuselage for larger weapon bays, and multi-role capability from day one. Sukhoi's pitch was basically, we will build a stealth fighter that maneuvers better and carries more ordnance than the F-22. Whether that introduced other compromises, like a bigger radar cross-section from certain angles, is up for debate. Number 66. Russia might build a two-seat Su-57. There is talk of developing a variant with a second crew member to control Okhotnik drones or handle complex ground attack missions while the pilot flies. If built, it would be the world's first two-seat stealth fighter. Russia has a history of two-seat variants for training and special missions. India wanted a two-seat version for their now-cancelled FGFA program. With drone warfare advancing rapidly, an Su-57 with a backseater acting as a drone boss makes tactical sense. Number 67. The Su-57's test fleet was tiny. Only about 10 flying prototypes existed by the late 2010s. For comparison, the United States built 13 YF-22 and F-22 prototypes and pre-production jets, plus over a dozen X-35 and F-35 test airframes. Russia had to accomplish more with less. Each prototype often served multiple roles: avionics testbed 1 week, weapons testbed the next. When the fifth prototype burned up in 2014, it was a proportionally massive loss. This resource constraint is why the program took so long. With such a small fleet, every fix or upgrade meant waiting for that specific jet to become available. Number 68. Even with advanced tech, the Su-57 retains a Russian design philosophy: always have a backup plan. If stealth fails and you end up in a dogfight, the Felon has the agility, cannon, and toughness to win traditional combat. If fancy avionics get jammed, it is still a fast, high-flying twin-engine brute. Sukhoi did not put all their eggs in the stealth basket. They gave the Su-57 conventional strengths and stealthy attributes. Western fifth-generation fighters lean heavily on stealth to avoid close dogfights. The Felon says, I will do that, but if you get close, I can turn and burn with the best of them. Number 69. The Su-57 upgrade program has a codename straight out of SimCity, Megapolis. That is the internal name for the improved Su-57M variant. Maybe they envision it as a metropolis of new tech inside the plane, or maybe someone at Sukhoi just liked the grandiose sound. It is certainly ironic given the jet is named Felon. Megapolis involves integrating new engines, updated avionics, and lessons learned from early production. The formal contract was signed in 2018, and by late 2022, an upgraded Su-57 had already flown test missions. Number 70. The Su-57 has one of the world's best ejection seats. The K-36D5, made by Zvezda, has a legendary reputation. Russian ejection seats have saved pilots from incredible situations, including mid-air breakups. The K-36D series features 0-0 capability, meaning safe ejection at 0 altitude and 0 speed. In the 2019 crash, the test pilot ejected at about 2,000 meters, while the jet was spiraling out of control, and he walked away. The seat did its job flawlessly. Russian tech does not skimp on crew safety. You can only make a new jet if the pilot lives to tell what went wrong. Number 71. The Felon is not just a fighter, it can act as a recon platform. It has an optional 101 KSN targeting pod for detailed ground observation, plus its powerful sensors can map ground targets or pick up electronic emissions. An Su-57 could do tactical reconnaissance deep in enemy territory while using stealth to slip by. During the Syria deployment, it is believed they gathered signal intelligence and images of air defense systems. By carrying multiple sensor types, it can fuse that into a comprehensive recon picture. Number 72. On early Su-57 prototypes, you could see the engine fan blades through the intake at certain angles, a potential stealth problem. Stealth aircraft like the F-22 and F-35 use S-curved ducts or blocker grids to hide the reflective engine face from radar. The Felon's intakes are relatively straight. Sukhoi probably bet that coatings and angles mitigated enough. Straight intakes give better airflow and performance, which is another trade-off. Later, production jets likely incorporated radar blockers to quietly correct this. Number 73. Western analysts have been skeptical of the Su-57. Articles with titles like "Felon Fighter Nightmare Might Not Be Solvable" point out production woes and question its stealth capabilities. Only a handful of Su-57s are fully operational. Many are still prototypes or early builds pressed into duty. Western sanctions on high-tech components forced design changes and caused delays. Some say the Su-57 has not lived up to its billing as a game-changer. To be fair, similar doom and gloom surrounded the F-35 in its early days. Number 74. The Su-57 owes a debt to an earlier oddball, the Sukhoi Su-47 Berkut. That experimental jet from the late 90s had forward-swept wings and served as a tech testbed for next-generation fighters. While the Berkut never entered service, its technology, composites, fly-by-wire systems, was incorporated into the Su-57's design. Sukhoi used the Su-47 to explore extreme agility and advanced materials. During Maks 2019, they displayed the Su-47 near the Su-57, almost like passing the torch. The Felon stands on the shoulders of its eccentric uncle. Number 75. The first Su-57s did not go straight to frontline squadrons. Initial deliveries went to the 929 State Flight Test Center at Akhtybinsk and Lipetsk for tactics development. In other words, they were for training, evaluation, and figuring out how to fight with this new jet. Only later did some go to an active line unit, the 23rd Fighter Aviation Regiment in Komsomolsk, on Amur, around 2021 to 2022. The United States did similar with the F-22. So if you were a hotshot Russian pilot in 2019, you could not just hop in a Felon. You went through Lipetsk to learn from test pilots first. It is a slow phasing into service. Number 76. At Maks 2019, Sukhoi flexed by flying 4 Su-57s in formation during the opening ceremony. Considering maybe 10 existed at that time, having nearly half the fleet in the sky together was bold. Russian air demos are known for pushing the envelope, and the Felons did not disappoint. It took years before you saw 4 F-22s together at an air show. Number 77. In August 2019, 2 Su-57s flew to Turkey for Technofest in Istanbul. This was Russia wooing Turkey after its F-35 fallout. It marked the Su-57's first landing on NATO soil. The jets were showcased to Turkish officials and the public. Ultimately, geopolitical and financial issues prevented a deal, but the image of a Felon parked in Istanbul did convey the message: if the West will not sell you theirs, we will sell you ours. Number 78. The Su-57 shows up at Victory Day parades in Moscow. On May 9, 2018, a pair of Su-57s flew over Red Square for the first time, just months after their Syria deployment. It is all about national pride, showing the world and home audience that Russia has top-tier hardware. Number 79. The Su-57 has big wings, about 78.8 square meters of wing area, slightly more than the F-22's roughly 78 square meters. Those large wings, combined with the blended fuselage, provide serious lift and enable heavy payloads. They also contribute to agility, especially at high altitude where thin air demands more wing to maneuver. Big wings help in dogfights for instantaneous turns and low-speed handling. Of course, they also present a larger radar target, but Sukhoi mitigated that with edge alignment and composite materials. The Felon is built to excel both in high-altitude interception and low-speed, high-alpha antics. Number 80. The Su-57 service ceiling is about 20,000 meters, or 66,000 feet. Commercial airliners cruise at roughly 35,000 feet, so the Felon can go almost twice as high. A high ceiling means excellent climb performance and the ability to launch missiles from extreme altitude, which extends their range. It is comparable to the F-22's ceiling. At 66,000 feet, air pressure is so low that an unpressurized human's blood would boil. Thankfully, the Su-57's cockpit is pressurized. Number 81. The Su-57 can do the classic tailslide maneuver, where the jet goes vertical, kills forward velocity, and literally slides backward tail first before nosing over. This is an old Sukhoi airshow favorite. With thrust vectoring and stability control, the Felon performs it easily. In a dogfight, rapid deceleration could confuse a pursuer or allow a sudden missile shot. Of course, it also makes you a falling brick momentarily, so it is more airshow stunt than tactical move. But it does demonstrate the Su-57's post-stall control authority. Number 82. The Su-57 does not have a traditional speed brake panel. To slow down, it deflects its ailerons and flaperons, while towing in the vertical tails to act as air brakes. This is similar to how the F-22 and F-35 decelerate. The Felon's large movable surfaces provide plenty of drag when needed. By not having a single big air brake panel, they saved weight and complexity and eliminated another radar reflecting seam. The Su-57 literally flares its wings like a bird to slow down. Number 83. The Su-57 has fiber optic sensors woven into parts of its composite airframe that detect stress, strain, and damage. This digital health monitoring system means the jet constantly monitors its structural integrity and alerts maintenance if something is off. Instead of waiting for an inspector to visually find an issue, the plane says, "Hey, I feel something weird in wing spar number 3. The Su-57, being a clean sheet design, allowed Sukhoi to incorporate these smart fibers. The jet has a nervous system and can feel pain. Number 84. The Su-57 is stealthy from the front, but not the back. Those round, exposed engine nozzles and lack of cooling design mean the Felon lights up more on radar and infrared from the rear hemisphere. Sukhoi prioritized forward aspect stealth, assuming threats come from ahead. Russia is working to fix this with the upcoming flat nozzles and radar blockers. Most analysts believe the Su-57's radar cross-section is very low, head-on, but significantly higher from sides or rear. In combat, an Su-57 will want its nose toward the enemy at all times. Number 85. There were early rumors about plasma stealth technology, using electrically charged plasma to absorb radar waves. While Russian scientists had patents on this concept, it is likely not implemented on the Su-57. Such a system would be complex and interfere with the jet's own sensors. The rumor gave the Felon a science fiction reputation and added to its mystique, but in practice, the Su-57 sticks to normal stealth geometry and materials. Number 86. The Su-57 is built for a long service life. Sukhoi talks about a planned lifetime of 35+ years for the airframe. Prototypes after 2014 had reinforced structure to meet full life cycle stress requirements. Fighters are typically designed for around 6,000 to 8,000 flight hours before major overhaul. Russia does not fly their jets as extensively per year as the United States Air Force, so years in service can be long, even with moderate hours. The Felon is intended to be the mainstay through the 2030s and 2040s. Number 87. The Su-57's intake design includes retractable mesh screens to prevent foreign object debris from being sucked into the engines during takeoff from rough runways. Russia operates many bases with old concrete or semi-prepared strips, so this is valuable. The mesh screens pop up to block debris when the jet is low and slow near the ground. Western stealth jets do not have such screens. They assume clean runways. The Felon is built expecting it might take off from a beat-up airstrip in the middle of nowhere. Number 88. The Su-57's nose landing gear is slightly off-center, toward the right side of the aircraft. Sukhoi did this to make room for the large internal weapons bay in the center belly. Many Soviet jets did similar. The Su-57 has a single-wheel nose gear that retracts to the right. It does not affect anything functionally. The plane rolls straight. Western stealth jets have centered nose gear. It is a small testament to how tightly packed the Su-57 is internally. Number 89. The Su-57 comes equipped with a brake parachute for landing. It has a dual chute system in the rear. Upon touchdown, the pilot can deploy a parachute to slow down quickly. This helps on shorter runways or icy surfaces common in Russia. Most Western fighters do not use drag chutes anymore and rely on wheel brakes. During MAKS 2019 rehearsals, one Su-57 popped its drag chute while still meters in the air, fully blossoming as it hit the runway. That is usually a no-no, but it showcased strong landing gear and short landing capability. Number 90. Sergei Bogdan, the chief test pilot who flew the first flight, claims that Hollywood stole his signature spiral descent maneuver from MAKS airshows for Top Gun: Maverick. Number 91. The Su-57 is meant to replace two aircraft types, the light MiG-29 Fulcrum and the heavy Su-27 and 30 flanker families. That is ambitious. Those jets have very different sizes and roles. The idea is one multi-role fifth-generation fighter can do the work of both a light frontline fighter and a heavy air superiority jet. The United States sort of did this with the F-35 replacing F-16s and complementing F-15s, but Russia went more one plane to rule them all. This is why the Su-57 is mid-sized, smaller and lighter than a flanker, but bigger than a MiG-29. Sitting in a Goldilocks zone, it had to inherit ground attack capability and the long range of Su-27. If they pull it off, it simplifies logistics. If not, they might eventually develop a complementary lightweight stealth fighter like the Checkmate. But for now, the Felon carries the weight of being Russia's do-it-all tactical jet. Number 92. In Russian media, the The Su-57 is portrayed as a symbol of national technological pride. It features prominently in Defense Ministry videos, recruitment ads, and propaganda pieces about Russia's military might. During the 2020 Victory Parade flypast, state TV commentators gushed over the Felon. It is essentially a prestige project. Even if not produced in huge numbers yet, just having it puts Russia in an elite club. A 2023 video circulated claiming an Su-57 shot down a bunch of NATO F-16s in Ukraine. Obviously fake CGI, but it demonstrates how the Felon has entered public imagination as a wonder weapon. The truth is more measured, but in Russian lore, the Su-57 is cast as the deadly talon of Mother Russia's Air Force. Number 93. The Su-57's journey spanned the entire post-Cold War period. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Russia's future fighter was a question mark. By the late 90s, they committed to PAK-FA. It took 20-plus years from program launch to service introduction, 1999 to 2020. In that time, the F-22 entered service in 2005, the F-35 began deliveries in the 2010s, and China's J-20 fielded in 2017. Number 94. Even before being built in big numbers, the Su-57 became famous worldwide. It has been the subject of endless internet debates, featured at international air shows, and analyzed by think tanks, all while only a few were flying. Part of this is its mystique as the first non-United States fifth-generation fighter. Number 95. The Su-57 is intended to be a key node in Russia's networked warfare plans. It is not a lone wolf. It is meant to link with other jets, drones, and ground systems. Its sensor fusion and data links allow it to share targeting info with older fighters or command centers. In the 2022 Ukraine conflict, there were claims that 4 Su-57s operated together in a unified information space, coordinating attacks via data link. Beyond raw performance, the Su-57 is a flying router, meant to plug Russia's forces into a faster kill chain. It finds targets and instantly tells its buddies, so everyone can engage smarter. Number 96. The program was originally called PAK-FA, but what does that even mean? Well, it stands for Prospective Aeronautical Complex of Frontline Aviation. Number 97. On October 5, 2024, an Su-57 deliberately shot down Russia's own S-70 Okhotnik heavy strike drone when it went rogue near Ukrainian lines. The Okhotnik, a stealthy combat UAV meant to be the Su-57's loyal wingman, apparently malfunctioned and started drifting toward enemy territory. Rather than risk Ukraine capturing the technology and reverse engineering Russia's cutting-edge stealth drone, an Su-57 was ordered to splash it with a missile. Number 98. The Su-57 can haul 7,500 to 10,000 kilograms of payload, depending on configuration. For comparison, the F-22 carries about 10,000 kilograms and the F-35A around 8,100 kilograms. The Felon can carry a pretty respectable amount of boom. Number 99. Russia claims the Su-57's operating cost is similar to the Su-27 and Su-35, which is around $25,000 to $30,000 per flight hour. By comparison, the F-22 costs $85,325 per flight hour. If those numbers hold up in practice, that is genuinely impressive. The Felon could offer fifth-generation capability without breaking the bank on maintenance. Number 100. The UAE was offered the Su-57E with potential local production, which would have been a huge export win for Russia. They passed. The likely reason was United States sanctions, which punish countries buying Russian military equipment by cutting off American tech and arms sales. For the UAE, who flies F-16s and wants F-35s, that is a deal-breaker. Number 101. Algeria is the only confirmed export customer for the Su-57, ordering 14 aircraft in late 2024 for delivery in 2025 to 2026. After 15-plus years of marketing efforts around the world, that is the entire export tally. One customer, 14 jets. The deal is worth just under $1.6 billion for about 12 to 14 aircraft, working out to roughly $130 million per jet. That is significantly higher than the advertised flyaway price of $35 to $50 million, but the real number includes training packages, ground support equipment, spare parts, weapons integration, and long-term maintenance contracts. It is a reminder that sticker price and actual program cost are very different things. Still, securing Algeria as a customer is meaningful. It proves the Su-57 can attract international buyers, even if the export success has been more modest than Russia hoped. And that is all 101 facts about the Su-57 Felon. Check out these 101 facts about F-35 Lightning II.